Hey, gang. Today I'm taking you to the beautiful Tangier, a city of history, legends, filming locations, and spies. In this quick video, I'll show you what it's like to visit Tangier in January. We arrived in Tangier by coach from Tetuan. Arriving at the coach station, we had to walk a little and take a local bus as well. You can travel pretty much all across Morocco with coaches and trains, but the stations are often a few kilometers away outside of the city center for some reason. It is probably because Morocco is a country where the taxis are affordable, even for local people. Most taxis are shared, so it doesn't cost you much. We preferred to walk and take a bus because it's always nice to experience the local transport system. Quick stop for lunch though, paella. You'll often see paella on the menu on those little eateries. This part of Morocco was once under the Spanish protectorate. We took paella because the menu was only in Arabic. We spotted some people eating paella, so we were like, yeah, we want that one. Now let's go to the Grand Soko. This is the place where on 9 of April 1947, Sultan Mohammed V delivered the Tangier speech, a public speech for independence. The Grand Soko is right outside the gate of the old Medina. The old Medina of Tangier, you might have spotted it in a few movies. You might have seen it in James Bond, in the Spectre movie, and you might also have seen it in Bourne Ultimatum with Matt Damon. I've not actually seen it, but there's a full chase happening in the tiny little streets and the roofs of the old Medina of Tangier. It's a spy movie. It is said Tangier was once a city full of spies and espionage through the Second World War, due to the city's status as international zone. Through the Second World War, controlled Casablanca was the exit point for a lot of refugees. You might, of course, have seen the Casablanca movie. But a lot of people actually believe that it is Tangier and its bars that inspired the Rick's Cafe in the Casablanca movie. We'll get back to that. This is the view from the top of my hostel. Terrible hostel, by the way, with a lot of humidity. Even the bed sheets were wet. But the view was amazing. Painted on the mural here, this is Iban Battuta, also known as the Islamic Marco Polo. We'll go and see his mausoleum in a moment. The sea you see in the distance, it is the Strait of Gibraltar. You can see a bit of Spain in the distance. Gibraltar, by the way, etymologically it comes from Arabic. It comes from Jibel Tariq, translating into Tariq's mountain, referring to Tariq ibn Ziyad, an 8th century Islamic military leader. A lot of the names of places in Spain are actually named after Arabic. Like Benidorm, Ben in Arabic is son, or Algarve in Portugal. Al is of course Arabic as well. Most people in Morocco, though, would not consider themselves Arabs. They are Berbers. Apparently, the vast majority of the population here only has about 5% of their DNA from Arabs. Allegedly, the Berbers were named Berbers because they were barbaric in terms of fighting. They were fighting the Vandals, for example. The Vandals, by the way, that group terrorizing Europe in the 5th century, they actually did manage to take Tangier at some point. Tangier is a very old city. It was once under the Roman Empire. Look at this doggy, he's got a tag in his hair. I think he's a stray dog, but like in Turkey, he's tagged. I'm guessing that signifies that he's been vaccinated. Now let's go to the best sunset point. Not much of a sunset today due to the weather. It is on the site of an old Phoenician cemetery. I'm guessing those would have been the graves. 3,000 years old, would you believe? It is the most popular sunset point in the area. Even on a day with no sunset, it's fairly busy over here. Oh, I see a motorcycle selling some street foods. Let's see what he's selling. Snails. Now, I'm a terrible French. I've never actually tried the French snails, the escargot. The only other location where I had tried snails before, that was in Crete, in Greece. But you need a lot of practice in how to get them fully out of their shell. Oh, and here is a peacock. Open your train. Open your train. Open your train. No, never mind. Back into the Medina now. So yeah, the city of Tangier is very old, according to some, as old as 12,000 years old. It was actually present in the Greek mythology. It is said that Greek god Antaeus built a city here and named it after his wife, Tangier. It is also said that it is the battle between Hercules and Antaeus that severed the Gibraltar Strip between Europe and Morocco. Hercules would have stayed here before his 12 labors. You can actually go and visit the caves of Hercules. We did not, because we read that it was not that good and it was a bit of a tourist trap. But if you have a day to spare for a full day excursion, it's probably quite fun. This is the Grand Café de Paris, a very old and iconic cafe. It was also featured in the Matt Damon movie that we mentioned earlier. Uh-oh, the next morning a huge cruise ship was there in the distance. The streets of the Medina are gonna be much busier. All across Morocco you see some fantastic doors and doorways. On this one, I love the little camel lock. Now, people tend to forget, but Tangier was actually once under the Brits. Tangier had been captured by the Portuguese, and it was passed down to Britain because it was part of the dowry of Catherine of Braganza when she married Charles II. Poor Catherine. For those of you that follow my live streams in London, you probably know those two very well. But for those of you that don't, Catherine was the Portuguese wife of the king, and the king was cheating on her with many, many ladies. The king had between 14 and 18 illegitimate children. None with Catherine, sadly. No legitimate heir to the British throne, so that led to a bit of a succession crisis. The fortifications around the city have actually been redone by the Brits. It wasn't British for long, only about 20 years really. The navy left eventually after some Moroccan revolts. Now, you know who actually came here when he worked for the navy? Samuel Pepys, the famous diarist. Now that was after his famous decade-long diary. Now let's take a look at this little Cafe Baba. It is said that the Rolling Stones came here. The band visited Tangier in the late 60s while they were awaiting judgment on drug charges in the UK. Now this little building is the mausoleum of Ibn Battuta, the Islamic Marco Polo we mentioned earlier. Iban left on a monkey's back, going to Mecca. He was expecting to come back 2 years later, but he actually returned 24 years later. He had explored most of the Islamic world. He survived a kidnapping, a shipwreck, the Black Plague. He married and divorced 10 women. On his return, the ruler of Morocco ordered that he dictate his story. He's a bit of a local hero. There might have been some more Islamic explorers, but his travel diaries were published. Now let's go and take a look at St. Andrew's, an Anglican church. I wanted to get in there for 2 reasons. Because I read that on the altar you have some Christian Bible lines written in Arabic, and also because in the graveyard you have the grave of a mysterious man called Din. But we didn't get in. The caretaker said no, it's closed on a Friday. So I asked, hold on, if it's a Christian church, why would it be closed on a Friday? He admitted that it was not closed as such, but basically on a Friday he's got some deals with the cruise ship groups. So it's only for them, sadly. Never mind, we went to see this other Christian church instead. This is the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. I realized later on that I would have been able to get inside if I had tipped him. Some other men on the street told me, go back, give him a tip, he'll let you in. But I didn't dare because the guy wasn't particularly friendly anyway, and I didn't know how much he would have expected as a tip. So I cannot show you Dean's resting place, but I can show you his working place, the Elza Hotel. In this 5-star hotel, at the back, you have a bar called the Caid's bar. So we went in for an expensive tea, just because I wanted to show you the inside. Now, there's a gentleman that used to come here every year for a month to work on his writing. You may have heard of him. I'm talking about Ian Fleming, of course. Some of his amazing spy novels would have been written right here. American writer Paul Bowles also visited. He used to live here in Tangier. The hotel and bar was visited by a lot of rich and famous. Like this one here. DiCaprio. It's funny to have a candid photo on the wall in a 5-star hotel. They also had pictures that were not candid, of many visitors, politicians, Hollywood stars. Anyway, to get back to that mysterious character, Dean. It is believed that he was actually a drug dealer from London. This is the beautiful Jewish cemetery, by the way. I like the way they place little stones on the graves. So yeah, Dean might have been a drug dealer from London. We believe his actual name was Don Kimful, although his headstone only reads Dean. You know, through the Second World War, Tangier was full of espionage, as well as outcast of society. Dean had arrived in Tangier and he had become the head bartender of the Caid's bar. And he was very much suspected of also being a spy. We don't know what country for, though. Maybe a double agent. After leaving the Caid's bar, he opened the Dean's bar. Another potential inspiration for Rick's Cafe in the Casablanca movie. Most of this is just speculations. I don't know much about spies, because it's the point. Let's go and take a quick look into the local synagogue as well. Beautiful. You might see the railing closed. It's probably not actually closed. They just closed the railings for security reasons, but you can still go and visit. Anyway, time for couscous. Couscous is traditionally served on a Friday, by the way. I didn't know before to arrive in Morocco. Some restaurants would say, no, couscous is only on Friday. After that, we jumped on a blue shared taxi to go towards the train station, as the train station is also outside on the outskirts of the city. It is located in a very modern area with a lot of the international food chains like KFC or McDonald's. And that's where you have the beach as well. Probably lovely to visit in the summer. January, by the way, was not cold, but really not warm enough for us to swim. And some of the hotels are not necessarily ready for the cold. If I had to choose again, I wouldn't stay in the old Medina, because some of those old riad homes have been built to protect themselves from the heat in the summer. But in the winter they can get a little bit cold. And my hostel was also very humid and a bit moldy. Not ideal. Anyway, time to get on a train to leave this beautiful city and go towards Asila. You can check that video as well on my channel. Booking a train is very easy in Morocco. You don't really have to book it ahead. You can go on the ONCF website, but you can also just turn up and buy it at the ticket office there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little video. Do check out my other videos of Morocco. And do check out my live streams. Most of what I do on YouTube is live. Bye!